Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's K Fashion and Beauty here. Today we are going to be checking out the tutorial on how to cut this beautiful madam or Igbo off-shoulder blouse. If it's your first time coming across my video, please welcome and don't forget to like and subscribe. I give easy tutorials on how to make different popular dresses and styles. Okay, so let's get back to our tutorial. This video is based on the pattern drafting of the off-shoulder Igbo blouse. The first thing I'm going to do is to draw in my starting point, but please, if you are using your material, fold it into two. I'm using a paper, so I'm not folding it into two, I'm just cutting directly. But if you're using a material or anything, you fold it into two before you start cutting the blouse. So the first thing I'm going to do is to mark my starting point. I always mark my starting point, or it's optional, you can just use it like that, but I like marking my starting point. Now don't forget, this is an off-shoulder dress, so we have to minus something for that off-shoulder. You can minus 4 or 5 or even 6 based on how low you want it to be, how open you want the off-shoulder to be. But for this particular video, I'm going to be minusing 4 for the off-shoulder. So my full blouse measurement is 26. I'll minus 4 from my starting point. I'll place 4 on my starting point and then take it down to mark my full blouse length. My full blouse length is 26, but I'm adding 1 inch for folding allowance. By the time you're done turning into your lining, the down part with your lining, to go back to that 26, the original blouse length. So the next thing now is minus 4 from that up. Don't forget that 4 that is up, and mark your shoulder to nipple and shoulder to underbust. The measurement I'm using here for tutorial, the shoulder to underbust is 14 and the shoulder to nipple is 9.5. So when I'm done marking that, I'll extend the line so that you can clearly see it and mark it out.
Good night, Mr. Money. Have a great flight.
I just want you chilling in the summer with my boo.
So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my half length. The half length I'm using for the measurement is 18 inches, though it's not really necessary, but I'm just marking it out to just get the waist, but it's not really necessary. So I'll mark out the waist measurement, which is 18 inches, but still minusing 4 from up.
You chilling in the summer with my boo. All the weather perfect for us too. Could be chilling at the beachside.
Okay, so now you need to pay attention. The next thing we're going to do is to mark the nipple to nipple measurements. The nipple to nipple measurement I'm using here is 8.5, but we're adding half inches, which is 9. So we're going to divide that 9 into 2, which is 4.5. So we're going to mark that 4.5. On that place, you mark the shoulder to nipple and the shoulder. Okay, first I'm going to label all the lines I've marked out so that I can see it clearly. The first line is the shoulder to nipple, second one is the underbust, the third one is the half length, and the last line down is the blouse length. So these are the lines: blouse length, shoulder to nipple, shoulder to underbust, and the blouse length. The next thing now is to mark the 4.5 that we talked about. So the 4.5 inches on that shoulder to nipple measurement. Sorry, I keep saying shoulder to nipple. It's an off-shoulder dress, so there's no shoulder in this. In the nipple side and in the underbust side, we're going to mark out that nipple to nipple 4.5 inches on it horizontally, and we're going to mark that straight line. This 4.5 inches, we're going to take it from up to the downside of the blouse length. I'm going to mark a straight line 4.5 inches horizontally straight down to the blouse length. From the up starting point to the blouse length, we're going to mark it straight. You can just make a small trace, because that line is not really important. As we keep going, you're going to understand. So you mark that 4.5 inches line straight to the blouse length line. So after drawing the straight line, these are actually important steps, so you need to pay close attention. The first thing now is to mark out 2.5 inches. This one is for the darts part, because we're not going to be putting darts on the front part of this dress, so we're going to take out the darts right now in the pattern that we're drafting. So I'm going to take 2.5 inches. From that 4.5, you're going to mark 2 inches. Then inside that line of inside the front half inch, you're going to mark half inch, 2 outside, half inside. It's the same thing you're going to do from the upside down to the shoulder to under bust line. You're going to mark half inside and 2 outside. You can use 3, you can use 2, but 2 is based on a bust measurement that is from 34 and so, but 2.5 are using it for bust measurement of 40, 38 upward. So we're going to mark half inside, half inches inside and 2 inches outside, which is 2.5. Then I'm going to take that line. That line we are marking is only going, the half inch is only going to be in the under bust side and in half length. So we're going to slant it from that half length up to the nipple side. We're going to slant it to form like a slanted like a dart line. Then outside that 2 inches is going to mark, we're going to mark it only on the under bust line and the half length line. We're going to mark it straight. It's not going to reach the nipple line, just from the under bust and the half length. So the next thing to do now is to go that same 2.5 inches, you take mark half inch up in the up starting point and 2 inches outside, half inches in and 2 inches out. Then I'm going to take that line up of that half inches to meet the nipple to form like a curve, not a straight. Like I use a French curve and curve it, to curve it from that place to meet the nipple, line. Then from outside, so you are going to mark that 2 inches outside of the starting point. From that 2 inches you will curve it to meet that nipple line too. So I've curved out my line. You can see it clearly curved up. From that 2 inches upward, I curved it to the nipple, and the other side I curved it, the half inches I curved it to the nipple too. So the next thing is to curve it, take it from that nipple side outside to the under bust line that we marked 2 inches. We are going to curve it from that nipple outside to the under bust that is outside, under bust line. You can see how it's forming the breast cup already. The next thing now is to slant it directly from that under bust line. I'm going to slant it outside like a line shape. So let me just put like that for explanation's sake. We're going to slant that line. The reason for slanting and not just marking it straight is to give it that freeness around the under bust side. Remember, this is an Igbo blouse. It's a free blouse. It's not a shaped like crochet blouse, no. So it's going to be free on that downside. You can actually mark your hip length in that downside before curving it, but I just curve it to give it that curved free shape down there. So you curve both the bust side and this other center side, the center front. So I'm just going to shade out the places that are not necessary, that is going to be cut out. So after marking everything, the next thing is to cut this out. We are not done with it, no. We're actually going to, next thing is to cut out this shaded part that I marked. The next thing we are going to do after cutting it is to actually shape it. Remember, I've not marked the bust measurement, the waist and the rest. So after cutting, that's when we'll mark this measurement. So take note of the places I cut out. I only cut out the shaded portion and that center front. I did not touch the bust side. Only that center front and the shaded portion was what I cut out. Before I forget, tell me where you're watching from on the comment section so that in my next video I can send love to you. After I'm done cutting out the necessary parts, place it exactly the way I place it right now. The bust on top, the center front, but that small space of that line, leave it open, not place it exactly on top, leave that small space open. The next thing to do is to mark out the measurement, but don't forget to trim out that down part of the blouse. I didn't trim that place out, so I'm actually going to curve it out later. I'm going to do that later. The next thing is to mark out the bust measurement. The bust measurement for this video that I'm using is bust 42. So we're going to divide it by 4, not by 2 but by 4. Divide the 42 by 4 and add 2 inches allowance. The same thing I'm going to do for the waist. The first waist, there are actually 2 waists. The first waist, which is the under bust waist, is 36. Then the second waist, which is normal waist measurement, is 39. The first waist is what I just measured as the waist first and second, which the first one is the under bust waist. The under bust waist is going to divide it by 4 to then add 2 inches allowance. You can add more allowance, you can add less allowance based on how much allowance you want to add to the dress you're making. But for this video, I'm adding 2 inches allowance. So after dividing by 4, put in my measurements, I mark 2 inches allowance for it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect the marked lines, the bust measurement and the waist side. If you notice, I didn't measure down to reach the down point. Just to that half length line, you're going to mark the second waist. Then you slant it down. It's a free blouse, remember. You slant it down. You can mark out, like I said, your hip measurement, but I slant it down wide, like 12 or 10 inches wide. The next thing is to make my armhole. For this is an off-shoulder dress, remember, so we're not going to make a big armhole like the normal measurement for drafting out the normal bust, with shoulder busting. But this one is off-shoulder, so we're going to remember -4. Then your armpit hole measurement armhole measurement is 9 inches, but you can, if you want to get it, you divide your bust by 6 and add 1 inches allowance. For this one is 8.5. I'll -4, remember, and put that 8.5. But I will not curve it. I'll just slant it a little bit, not overly curved. Just slant it a little bit up to the starting point, as you can clearly see here. So from the down length of that blouse at the side, I'm going to go up by 1 inch and slant it down. The reason for this is to give that shape. The blouse is not straight, so to give that round balanced shape, curvy shape. So I'm going to curve it take it 1 inch upward and curve it down. Then I'm going to cut it out. Okay, sorry, before making that armhole, I actually measured 1 inch, half from the beginning point, and I notched that area. That half is for the joining of the bust. Then the remaining half is to join the hand. It's an off-shoulder dress, but you need something, because by the time you join the bust, you might not have enough allowance to actually add the hand or to join the hand somewhere. So I'm going to add 1 inch there before marking that armhole, for half inch for joining it and the other half inch for adding the sleeve. The next thing is to cut out the back. For the back, it's quite easy. All you need to do is to place it exactly how you placed it before marking out the bust measurements. You place it exactly like that and just mark out 2 inches for the zip allowance, or 1.5 for, based on how many you want to use for a zip allowance, but highest 2, or 1.5 for 1. So I used 2 for this video and marked out 2 inch for the zip allowance, and I'm going to place it starting from that 2 inches that I marked out. And when I place it exactly on that line, all I need to do is to cut it out, and that's all for the back. then we are going to cut out the neck, because the neckline is different from the front. Remember, the front one I did not cut out the neckline because I actually prefer doing this after sewing, because when I do it like that, it's actually easy
Good night, Mr.
to
Money.
join in
Have
the
a great
bustier
flight.
if you cut it the neckline after sewing. So after I've joined the bustier side and I've molded the breast, the next thing I need to do is just cut out the neckline based on the shape, whether V or sweetheart or round neck. But for the back, you can cut it even before you start sewing or joining. So after cutting the back out, the next thing I'll do is to cut out the back neckline.
Wetter than the seaside when I hit from behind. I just want you chilling in the summer with my boo. All the weather perfect for us two. Could be chilling at the beachside, baby. Will you be mine? I just want the truth. Treat you like a queen walking the streets. Witching rose when we up in the sheet. You be wetter than the seaside when I.
So after cutting the back, I notched the zip allowance. I'm doing this on the paper, but you actually need to do it on the actual fabric. Do not forget to notch the zip allowance so that it will be easy to actually know where the zip allowance is instead of doing it excess or lesser. So after marking the zip allowance, I'm going to show you how to cut 3 different types of neckline. But remember, it's off shoulder, so I'm minusing 4. That same place I'll mark one that I notched it, you're going to notch that same thing at the front where we notched that 1 inch, that half inch for joining is the same half inch you're going to mark at the back. So from that half inch straight is where the width of your actual neckline is going to reach. Now for the deepness, we are going to go in by 6 inches, minusing 4, then that will be 2 inches we are taking in, but minus 4, that is 6 inches. So we're going to mark 6 inches if it's for round neck. But if it's for a V neck, we can go down by 10 or 12. For the round neck, all you need to do is to curve it with your French curve, or you can just use the free hand. Curve it from that place I notched to the 2 inches down there, just curve it, and that is for the round neck. But if it's for the V neck, after marking 10 or 12 inches, you are going to slant it down to the zipper allowance line. Slant it there, not past it, but on that zipper allowance, going to read that zipper allowance line, just going to slant it, giving it like a V shape, and then take it straight. You see the curved V shape. So by the time you're done joining that zipper allowance, to show that V shape. The third neckline is the square. You can say they call it the square neck, but I call it the square neckline. For that square neckline, it's not really popular, but some people prefer it. You just take it down straight, like 10 inches down, and then just form a straight line like a box. That's all. Quite easy. So whichever one you prefer, the round neckline, the V neckline, or the square neckline, it's all up to you. So after this, I'm going to cut out my neckline. I'm using the round neckline, so I will just cut it out.
Baby, will you be mine? I just want the truth. Treat you like a queen walking the streets. Witching rose when we up in the sheet. You be wetter than the seaside when I hit from behind. Let's just got to.
So that is all for the cutting. Next thing I'm going to do now is to just label everything. We have the center front, the bust, and the back. When you are done cutting everything, you should have about 5 pieces, 2 for the back, then the 2 bust side, and 1 center front. Remember that center front and the bust are folding the material into 2 when you are cutting. So that is all, guys, for the pattern drafting of the Igbo blouse. So I'm just showing how you join the center and the bust side together. You just join that side. So I just went ahead to label the zip allowance side, and that is all for drafting the Igbo blouse. So thank you so much for watching up to this point. I love you guys so much, and thanks for the support. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any questions or you need more explanation to this video, just leave a comment in the comment section, and I promise to get back to you and to answer. I'm right there waiting for your questions. Thank you. Don't forget